Welcome to RPG Book Club, the podcast where we play a little bit of a video game and talk about how it makes us feel. I'm Sam.
I'm Bernard.
And I'm Trish.
And I'm in pain. Today we will be starting our playthrough of Lufia and the Fortress of Doom, covering up until we trek to Treck. But before we get to all of that, I pulled my back out, and I haven't been able to really move for like 24, 48 hours, and it sucks really fucking bad. And I hate it.
Sounds like it sucks.
Yeah,
it's fucked.
Yeah, and apparently you can mix ibuprofen and Tylenol, but you can't mix Aleve with like being alive. It's basically the only thing you can do for that one, and it's the one that old men with joint issues all recommend. And so I took Aleve, and it's fine at dulling the daily pain, but as it starts to wear off towards the end, you can't take Aleve with Aleve. Even you have to wait like 12 hours like on the dot to take your next dose of Aleve. So when it's dying out, I can't take a Tylenol to get me over. So every 12 hours, but like offset by 2 hours from where I take it, things suck. And it's currently 9 p.m. So that's two hours before I need to take my medicine. So I am doing okay. And I was just about to sit down and start recording when Storm Rider Almond, the motherfucker, just came in my room, threw a big fit, wouldn't leave. So I had to stand up from my desk, which is hard, and grab him and move him to his bed, which was very, very hard. And I was, I'm not having a great time. But he's 5 now. His birthday was yesterday, and that's really awesome. And GDQ read his donation.
That's a big child to move.
That is a big child to move. And GDQ read his donation about an hour ago during the Astrobot run, which was awesome. He was freaking out like, oh my God, they said my name. Does this mean I'm an Astrobot? And I'm like, yeah, it means you're an Astrobot forever now.
I mean, there's so many VIP bots, probably.
You're probably there. But yeah, other than that, I've been on vacation all week. So up until throwing my back out, I've been having a grand old time. I set me a lot of goals on things I wanted to do for the podcast and things I wanted to do for Possum Boy, and I have not done anything in the past 72 hours because my back hurts a lot. So yay me. Yeah, but exciting things are coming. I did manage to do a lot of things before feeling like shit, and I have another week of vacation ahead of me, so I should get even more things done after I'm done feeling like shit. But right now, shit sucks. What about you guys?
I had a crazy work week this week. I did a 10-hour shift yesterday. And luckily, I only had a 5-hour shift today, so I was able to sort of recover today. But yeah, I worked 10 hours yesterday. It was kind of rough. Other than that, I started playing Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon and the Blade of Light because Sam asked me to be on the Fire Emblem episode of JRPG Canon, which I don't know if that's out yet or when it's going to be out, but spoiler alert, Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon and the Blade of Light owns, and I've continued playing it, and I love it.
Yeah, I like Bernard. I started playing it this week, and it's kind of crazy how Tactics RPGs just arrived fully formed. There are literally none before Fire Emblem 1. Fire Emblem 1 comes out, and Fire Emblem 1 is basically all Fire Emblems that have happened since, besides the weapon triangle. But like everything you need for Tactics RPGs are there, and it rules.
Yeah. So look forward to that episode on Fire Emblem and Shining Force.
Mm-hmm. I think that's the first one I'm splicing together, so that might be coming out in 2 days, which would be the Friday after this comes out. But if it doesn't, it's because I felt like shit and I didn't get to edit.
Nice.
What about you, Trish?
So, those of you who joined us at all for the New Year's Eve stream would know I spent basically that entire stream when we weren't playing games together, playing I Was a Teenage Exocolonist, which is a mix between a deck builder and a racing sim that my girlfriend got me for Christmas, and I was really excited because I've been wanting to play this for a while. The game has truly some of the most the stuff you can do for getting your character's gender in. Like it's not just a simple pick some pronouns or whatever. There's gender and pronouns, and you can edit further, and there's a whole list of terms, and you can edit in and put in whatever you want, which is amazing.
Like one of them is your dad. I don't know if it's your dad, but like your dad's really nice, and he calls you buddy. Do you want to change buddy? Is buddy not gender for you? Change buddy to kiddo or friendo or whatever, and you can just type it in, and it's cool.
It's a great game. I'm probably going to talk about it a bit in the after show. But I've been playing it too much. Starting yesterday, I had played 1.5 runs. I was like near the end of my second run. So I finished out my second run, and I started my third, and I was like, this time I'm going to get all these things. I'm going to do, get all the X content of the game. I'm really excited. I'm going to do a third run. And I didn't really take into account how long a run of that game takes. I didn't have really anything else on my schedule. So besides finishing up Lufia, which I did way before that. So I decided I would just keep playing until I finished my third run. This was a mistake. Lately, I've been going to bed anywhere between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. 4 a.m. is bad, but I can do it sometimes. I stayed up until 7:30 in the morning yesterday.
Oh, no!
And I got like 6 hours of sleep. I got a nap later that kind of helped, but I felt like absolute ass today. My brain is drenched in fatigue. And the problem is when I get bad fatigue, it really easily brings out all of my worst self-negativity. I just start... It just any negative thought I could have myself becomes 10 times easier to have and to be pushed to the forethought of my brain, and I don't like that. It sucks. And I had just no energy. So I struggled past that a lot today. I'm still feeling it. I've taken steps to put myself in a better headspace, but I'm still kind of feeling it. But I'm excited for podcast. And it did help that I read a bunch more of what is quickly becoming one of my favorite manga, namely Young Ladies Don't Play Fighting Games. I'm not going to get into that here and now, but God, this manga is so fantastic. It is a delight. I don't think I've read a manga this good since Dungeon Meshi, and the fact that I'm even putting those two in the same sentence should give you an idea of how good this manga is.
Yeah, it sounds fantastic.
But yeah, that's how my do I have anything? The only other thing I can say is I really miss my girlfriend. She went back home, and I miss her. Sweetie, I know you're going to be listening to this later. I love you.
Sam, you're not doing a clunky segue. Are you okay?
No, apparently Storm's in pain, so I have to stand up and walk across the house again. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
I hope Storm's okay.
Yeah, FF9 is wild.
I need to get back to it. I love that game.
It's so funny to me that it is sort of billed as a throwback game. And, in some ways it is. It's got, all the characters are classic Final Fantasy jobs and stuff. But in all its storytelling and everything, it is our newest Final Fantasy yet. It is definitely the most modern Final Fantasy as of the time it came out.
Mm-hmm.
It is so fast-paced and cinematic and crazy.
And it's those things while still being very fun and having a feeling that reminds me so dearly of earlier Final Fantasies. I haven't played a lot of the ones past 6, partially because I owned only Nintendo consoles, and partially because I looked at them and I thought they all looked way too serious, and I preferred the Super Nintendo era. And playing 9 was like oh yeah, everyone was right, this does have those vibes.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also so much bigger. It has that, as you said, that it has the scale.
the main thing I don't like about FF9, apart from the ending being insane in a way that I personally don't like, is I think the name Dagger is really bad. I
Yeah.
don't like it. And like I feel like they should have just had her take her assumed name from that play that they do at the beginning of the game.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that would have made more sense. And yeah, they spent a lot of money on the cinematics and also the pre-rendered backgrounds. There are so many. Like
So many.
I remember this one scene fairly early on where there's just some people talking at an inn, and we get and so it's just the normal shot of the town where you can the part of the town where you can see the inn, and then it just cuts into another camera angle of the inn just for that scene, and I'm like, that costs money and disk space.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, I'm back. Storm was fine.
Okay, I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah. He just was being dramatic because he wanted Dad to come and help him. The moment I got in there and I kissed it better, asked if he wanted medicine. He said, of course not. He drank some water and he said, I feel all better. And he laid down. I'm like, you motherfucker. I don't feel all better, Storm.
Oh.
All right, how clunky was that segue? Should we keep it?
I don't know.
You didn't make any segue.
Oh,
Yeah,
I thought you said that Trish made a clunky segue when I came back.
No.
No, we were just talking about FF9.
Okay. So, yeah, speaking of the final fantasy game that Taito ever made, let's listen to some music and talk about the history of this game.
I don't know enough about the history of the game to know if it's the last fantasy game Taito ever made. But I would assume they made later Lufia games.
They did.
No, you would be incorrect, and I will get
So the
to
later Lufia games are by other people?
The ones
Or different studio.
The ones after Lufia 2. We'll get there. It's the button to my thing.
All right.
So, yeah, there's almost no documentation on the development of Lufia because shortly after the release of Lufia 2, Taito closed down, and it was the 90s, so very little was saved of that time. The only thing I could find was an ad hoc interview at a fan event in 2013 with the developer, and he says that they made a prototype of Lufia for the PC-98 because it was before the invention of PowerPoint and everything, or even capturing game video. They just lugged their PC-98 and CRT to all of their pitch meetings, plugged it in, and showed them how it played. Taito loved the pitch and decided to fund it, provided that they move it over to the Super Famicom, and they decided to call the game Estopolis Denki. They decided on Estopolis because they liked the sound of the abbreviation Esuto, but there's another game that was called Esuto, so they expanded it to Estopolis, meaning City of the East, and they imagined that this world had 4 countries in the north, south, east, and west. The very next follow-up question in the interview was, why is the walking speed so slow and the encounter rate so high? I love that it was a chip on someone's shoulder for 20 years to bring it up at a fan game 20 years after it came out. He said that they did it because the game felt too short and not like a huge adventure if they could just beeline and get to the other side so fast. So they did it to extend the playtime, and then he chuckled nervously and asked for the next question. And all of those next questions are about Lufia 2. So That's all I got. Besides the fun fact that Lufia 1 was a port for the Genesis was announced. Not Mega Drive, the Genesis. It was ported primarily because Lufia was super popular in the West, but before it could release, Taito went out of business. So despite a lot of buzz and several multi-page spreads in magazines, it never came out. So Lufia 1, despite them making Lufia 2, was the last game that they ever made. It just never came out. But in 2014, one of the developers released the port online for piracy's sake. So you can play it on the Genesis if you want, but I recommend playing the Lufia Restored patch, which corrects those previously mentioned random encounters and walking speed and adjusts the difficulty accordingly. But
I've been doing.
So you said a couple of times that Taito shut down, but I'm seeing that it was purchased by Square Enix and became a wholly owned subsidiary in 2006.
yes, I think it was...
Did like a studio of Taito shut down or something?
Yeah, I know that the... where was it? The thing that I found said...
Taito Europe was liquidated in 1998.
Yeah, Taito America closed in 1995. So it was Taito America, not Taito everything. I knew that Taito eventually became Square Enix because they made all the other Lufia games. But it was Taito America because it was for the Genesis and not the Mega Drive. Taito America going out of business was why it didn't come out.
I see.
Yeah, they even had a release date set because they delayed it to spring 1995, and the tagline for that delay was "It's worth the wait." So, if you wanna wait and play the Mega Drive version now instead of in 1995, maybe it's worth the wait.
Oh, I see. I see the ad that says coming December 1994, crossed out spring 1995. It's worth the wait.
Yep. So,
and, having played the beginning of this game, I would say it would be worth the wait of a few extra months because I really like this game.
Yeah, it's pretty dope. What do you like about it, Bernard?
Well, I can't really.
I think that was a segue
question into my notes. It doesn't really work like my notes aren't really written in a way where I can make that make sense. I like a lot about the game, such as Taito presents. Without warning, the island suddenly appeared in the sky. 4 foul and wicked beings claimed it for themselves. They possessed the frightening powers of chaos, destruction, terror, and death. The people were horrified. They called the evil ones Sinistrals. Great name, guys.
It just makes me think of Sinistar. Beware, I live.
The reign of terror continued. The world massed its warriors to battle their dark foes. But the Sinistrals were all-powerful. In desperation, the people called on their bravest fighters, Artea, Guy, Maxim, and Salon. And so began the final battle, Lufia and the Fortress of Doom! We get a name entry screen for the protagonist who, as far as I can tell, I looked into this a little bit, but not a whole lot because I didn't want to spend too much time on wikis for a game that I haven't played yet. As far as I can tell, does not have a canonical name. He's been called a few different things in different media, but doesn't have like a single canonical name.
Huh.
So, what did y'all call this guy?
So here's the thing. I thought this was like, I don't know, like a Zelda game or a Mario game where you can name your file whatever you want and it doesn't name the protagonist that. So I named the protagonist Trishy by accident.
Beautiful.
But that's canon now, I guess.
As usual, it's not a surprise after 8 years of this podcast, but I called it Bash.
So this would not fit in the name entry box, but I decided that for the sake of notes, we could call him, I don't know, Totinos.
You know what? Random choice. I think Totino's works.
I think Totino's is perfect.
So we enter the name, then we get the opening narration from the attract mode again because we sat through it the whole time when we started up the game. Now we've got to sit through it again. Then we take control of the great heroes Artea, Guy, Maxim, and Salon. They're in the Fortress of Doom on the Flying Island. The heroes make their way through the Fortress of Doom, fighting fearsome monsters along the way. They come to a bridge, and the voice of the sinistral Douse commands them to cross. And I'm like, oh my god, I'm having flashbacks to playing Tales of Fantasia on the bonus feed for this podcast.
Let's
That game
douse
sucks
Douse.
so bad. I hate Douse. I hate everything about Tales of Fantasia. This one also has a villain named Douse.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, the whole Douse commanding them to cross the bridge, it might be a trap, but they have no choice, and Maxim says there's still hope as long as Dual Blade keeps its light. The heroes state their determination to defeat the Sinistrals and restore peace to the world. The heroes arrive at the top of the castle where the Sinistrals are waiting. The party fights the Sinistrals Gades, Amon, Aram, and Douse. After the heroes win the battle, the Sinistrals decide, fuck this, we're going to destroy everything. They surround the heroes and gather their energy into one flow, whatever that means. If that flow erupts, the world will cease to exist. That's bad. The heroes merge their own flow, whatever that means, to counter the Sinistrals. It works! The Sinistrals disappear and the heroes are flung about the room. Maxim, Guy, and Artea are fine, but Salon is dying from the flow eruption and from being the woman character.
I cannot help every time you're using the word flow. I know it's what the game used, but I'm just in my brain just thinking about a very particular kind of flow. And like, oh gosh, is she having a heavy flow? Like
I think Artea might be girl as well, but Salon, it felt very much like, I'm the woman who has to die tragically.
yeah, it's unclear, but I was thinking that character was also a girl too, but
Salon says she wishes she could go home with Maxim and hold their child again. The castle starts collapsing because they beat the boss, and the bridge falls, leaving Guy and Artea on one side and Maxim and Salon on the other. Artea can use warp magic to escape with Guy, but Maxim and Salon are too far away. With heavy hearts, Artea and Guy retreat. Thus the battle ended. The island plummeted into the depths of the sea. The Sinistrals vanished and never returned. In time it came to be remembered as the Battle of Doom Island. 90 years had passed since the great conflict. Once again, peace settled over the kingdoms. Life was good, and the troubles were few. The Battle of Doom Island soon faded from memory. The people lived and worked in harmony once more. That's when the trouble started.
oh no, the trouble.
We see an old man named Roman running an inn at a village. A young boy named Totinos runs in and tells Roman about the adventures he's been having. A young girl wanders into the inn. Totinos and Roman are like, who are you? But she doesn't give any information except that her name is Lufia.
Hey, that's the name of this game.
I wonder if she's important.
Probably not.
She runs outside to play tag with Totinos, and Roman is left wondering who she is. 9 more years later, so a total of 99 years after the events of the opening, Totinos is a knight of Helicia, and he's trying to get his fellow knights to join him for training, but they're all too lazy and complacent. Annoyed, Totinos wanders off and runs into Lufia in a field of flowers. They talk about flowers and their childhood and life the way it is today and how long the peace will last and what they would do if the Sinistrals returned and how Maxim's blood flows through Totinos' veins and how Lufia is bad at cooking and how Totinos was just kidding when he said that and how he really does like her cinnamon pie and won't she please make some. The writing is actually fairly elegantly done. We flow through this establishing conversation fairly well. It's a lot of stuff to get through.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of stuff to get through, and it's easy to poke fun at.
Yes. Totino's and Lufia head back to the inn, and Lufia goes into the kitchen to bake a pie. While waiting, Totino's talks with Roman about how Roman raised him and Lufia. Totino's overhears some people in the inn say that monsters attacked the kingdom of Shirin, but the Knights of Alicia are too lazy to go investigate. Totino's leaves without saying a word. Lufia exits the kitchen and is not pleased to find that Totino's ditched her. Totino's goes to the Knight's commander and tells him that monsters attacked Shirin, but the commander refuses to send anyone until the rumors are confirmed. Totino's takes it upon himself to go to Shirin and see what's up. Totino's leaves town and stops in the village of Chatham on the way. Nothing really happens here yet, except Totino's talks to someone who mentions that he hasn't seen Daniil around lately, and that Daniil's sister Lilah works at the castle in Shirin, and that he's worried about them. Totino's arrives in Shirin, which has indeed been attacked by monsters. A bunch of townsfolk are dead or dying. One says the monsters were led by someone in a black cape. Totino's can't do much here, so he heads back to Alicia to warn them of the danger. When he arrives, Totino's tries to explain his behavior to Lufia, who is still angry at him for asking her to bake a pie and then leaving in the middle of her baking a pie without saying anything, which is,
Valid.
Not a good move, Totino's. As Totino's leaves, Roman says what Lufia is really mad about is Totino's heading off into danger alone. And I'm like, she can be mad about the other thing, too. I mean...
Yeah, right?
You can go to the castle and talk to the commander again, but he says some nonsense about how they can't send any knights to Shirin until next week at the earliest. Totino's leaves town again, but Lufia follows him. She says she knows he's going somewhere dangerous again. She insists on going with him. Totino's doesn't want her to come, and they have a frank discussion about how there's danger ahead, and Totino's might not be able to protect her, and she might die. Lufia insists that if Totino's is with her, she won't die. Totino's promises to stay with her, and they depart for Shirin. On the way to Shirin, Totino's and Lufia run into that guy, Daniil, who was heading towards Shirin to check on Lilah, but got injured. Totino's tells Daniil to go back to Chatham while he and Lufia look for Lilah. Daniil thanks them and gives them a castle key, which will let them progress the story. Totino's and Lufia arrive in Shirin and use the key to go deep into the castle, where they find the king and some servants, including Lilah, hiding. Totino's promises to escort them somewhere safe. On the way out of the castle, a menacing man in a black cape approaches the group. Lilah identifies him as the one who led the attack on the town. Totino's orders Lufia to take the others to Alicia and get the knights while he holds this guy off. Lufia briefly protests, but does as asked. Totino's asks why the guy would do such a thing, and the guy says destruction is his goal, and that he is evil, and that he is Gades, Sinistral of Destruction. And there is actually a text box where he says in all caps, I am evil.
It's so good.
So this is bad.
Mm-hmm.
Gades attacks. Totino's gets owned. Lufia runs up and says she won't let him hurt Totino's. Gades has a strange reaction to Lufia and leaves. Weird. I wonder if Lufia is important.
No.
This game is called The City of the East. It has nothing to do with Lufia.
Totino's asks where the others are, and Lufia says that during that very short scene, she went all the way to Alicia, got the others safely within the castle, talked to the commander, was told the knights couldn't come right away, and then came all the way back to Shirin on her own. She has got some hustle.
Mm-hmm. She's playing on the Lufia restored hacks, so she has fast walk speed.
Yes. Totino's and Lufia return to Alicia. Roman greets them and says he heard about what happened from Lilah. He asks Totino's what he plans to do. Totino says he's going to escort Lilah back to Chatham, and then, well, the Sinistrals may have returned, so he has a JRPG to do. Lufia asks to speak with Roman alone, and she is hesitant about leaving, but Roman tells her to stay with Totino's. Totino's and Lufia go to the castle, collect Lilah, and take her back to Chatham. Lilah and Daniil are reunited. Lilah, knowing that Totino's and Lufia's mission is to learn more about the Sinistrals and confirm if they've really returned, tells them that there's a rumor that someone in the port town of Treck knows about the Sinistrals. Treck is a long way southwest of Sheeran, and it might be a dangerous journey, but our heroes will bravely face the dangers next week.
Yeah, it's a long trek away.
Yes. One memorable moment I have is that this game has the best graphics.
Oh, I love it! There's a point where you go in the castle and you're going one of the castles, I can't remember which one. But the back wall, like it's an open air thing where you can see the countryside behind it, and it looks so gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're walking past it, the wall, like the pillars and stuff, move at a different rate. Like they're using that mode 7. There's 2 layers of backgrounds. I love it.
And the character sprites are so cute.
Mm-hmm.
They're so cute.
I just love the way this game looks.
Yeah, we joked about it a little bit earlier about the dialogue between Totino's and Lufia. That's some of my goddamn favorite thing in the entire world. This game has such like a mundanity to its cutscenes that's really cool in a way that like, nothing else on the Super NES takes its time that way. Like we played Chrono Trigger. Chrono Trigger's amazing, but every single cutscene is about 4 text boxes, and then you're off to the races. And this one, it takes its sweet time to like have them complain about each other's cooking and shit, and it's so fucking good.
Oh yeah, and I love the scene on the world map where they're just talking about how they talk about the points that I mentioned, but they also talk about like their relationship, and it's great.
It's very good. You know what else is really good? The shop music. I was not expecting the first time I went to a store to hear some of the sickest tunes I've ever gotten out of a Super Nintendo. And that's saying something. The Super Nintendo had some really great music.
Oh man, I'm trying to remember that track. I remember thinking it was great, but I can't remember. Here's Lufia and the Fortress of Doom music shopping. Yeah, this track rules.
Yeah.
It's so good! Also, I don't know how often this trick was done before this game. I'm sure it's not the first JRPG to do this, but the thing of starting off the game with high-level characters, with an inventory full of shit, and going and doing the final boss fight at the start, it's a very fun way to start a game.
Yeah, I know of several that will do it for like a boss fight. We mentioned Tales of Fantasia earlier. That one has one, but it's usually either a cutscene or a boss fight. It's not an entire small short dungeon with random battles and shit like that. It's cool.
Mm-hmm. And it's cool because the random battles give you a chance to kind of figure out the system a little bit, to figure out what goes where, and to play around with some of your spells. Because fun thing about this game, unless I'm missing a button that tells me, you gotta play with your spells to find out what they do. And when you start out, your spellcasters have so many spells.
That button is the X button.
Now, I hit the X button, and that did not happen. I'm
Really?
annoyed, but okay. I will believe you and think I must have just messed it up somehow. But good to know.
I'm pretty
But
sure
still,
the X button, maybe it just shows you what items do. I know the X button like gives you information in some situations.
Yeah, it might not do it in battle, but it might do it in the menu.
That's probably it. That's more likely it. But yeah, I do just have fun playing around with the spells and seeing what they do. And there is something fun to just looking at a spell called Mirror as you're doing these end game boss fights at the very start, and being like, oh, this is a magic reflect. Fun. I'll wait for to figure out which bosses use magic, and then I can just hose them.
So as I was playing, you get Lufia, and she starts with a couple of spells that all seem like healer spells. Like she has a heal, she has something called flash, and she has something else. And I'm like, okay, she has support magic, so I'm going to spend all of her turns just like punching unless something happens, and she can do it. Because surely flash is like a blind the opponent, lower their accuracy sort of thing. That's what it is in every single game. No, that's her lightning spell. She's an offensive mage. She's not.
Nice.
She's not support at all. And I only realized it because in one of the dungeons, I think it's the one on the way to Treck, so I didn't even technically figure it out this week. You can get a equipment for her that like the vibe of it is for an attack mage. I forget exactly what it does. I'm in pain, but so I was like, wait, which of these are attack spells? And then it was flash all along, and she could have been kicking ass a lot earlier than she did.
Yeah. Also, speaking of things about her and stuff she starts with, so the starting gear you get, your Totino's starts with gear called clothes, which I've seen that in a bunch of Super Nintendo games. Lufia starts with gear called One Piece, which I'm like,
oh, she has the One Piece. That's why no one can find it.
I knew you were gonna say that. I'm just over here laughing slash like, really developers? Oh, what a girls wear. Oh, swimsuits, of course.
No, it's okay. If you root around in her room, you can find a dress, because that's the other thing girls are allowed to wear is swimsuits and dresses.
I did root around. I found another one piece in someone else's house. I did not find her dress. I also found a teddy in the princess's room, which the maid said said she would kick me out if I was there, but didn't actually do anything to stop me. Also, speaking of the princess, I do really love just going around talking to people, being rewarded with so many like, oh, okay, apparently this kingdom's princess has her own shit going, like she's being very hands-on in a way that a lot of people don't find okay, but no one's willing to stop her, and her dad's supportive of it, and I'm like, this is fun.
Mm-hmm. Another thing I really, really like is the US box art made it, they translated the anime into Western cartoon, but they did it not into fucking Conan, which always looks stupid. They did it to Saturday Morning
Fire.
Yeah, they made it into Saturday Morning Cartoon, which actually looks really cool.
Yeah, it does. Also, fun thing about the US box art is it has 3 bullet points on it, and the first one is battle in the opening story.
That is accurate. You do battle in the opening story.
And then it also says a vast new RPG world, and I'm like, yeah. And then it says includes battery backup system, and I'm like, yeah.
Oh, I love that that's still like the time period where they had to, where it's like, guys, this game has a battery backup. You don't have to use passwords. Isn't that great?
Yeah, I'm real glad that Final Fantasy or whoever it was that like made battery backup standard in RPGs did it. 'Cause could you imagine how long a password would be for it to include all of the variables of what's in your inventory and where you visited on the overworld, what NPCs have you talked to?
That would be a long password.
Yeah, that's why saving in Pokemon prior to X and Y took like 2.5 minutes, is they were saving that really long password.
I don't miss that.
I don't either, but
I was playing one of them recently on my DS, and I was like, okay, yada yada. I was just playing to fuck around for a bit. Let me just save. And I'm like, I said, let me just save.
Was it your first save on the file? Because I remember those taking extra long.
Yeah, I was like, all right, we get it. We get it. Whatever, just go. And it takes forever.
Yeah. I love the I was about to say a lie. I was gonna say I love Gen 4 of Pokemon. I love some of I love Heart Gold and Soul Silver.
Yes.
And I love Gen 5 in general. But the system that those games were running on takes forever to save.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It was my absolute favorite thing about X and Y, which is also the tech debt systems or generations always kind of suck, but they make the game better. So Gen 4 is not very good as a Pokemon game, but all of the things that it changed are fantastic and will go down in the annals of time.
Yeah.
And X and Y was the same thing, but the very best tech debt that they had is I hit save and it said save completed. It was
Yes.
it was life changing. I remember the moment here 10, 15 years later or whatever of I saved my game and it was done. It was amazing.
Indeed. Also, there's pros and cons to this choice, but that's also when they decided to make a 3D model for every single Pokemon, which they have continued to use ever since. Which, fair. That was a good cost-saving move because of the problems with making new sprites every generation. Anyway, back to Lufia. God, it feels so nice to play a Super Nintendo RPG again. I love these. I love the little bits of jank, like the when you go to the menu, just the way it's laid out and the way you go between things, and like when you go to a shop, the different options. It's all just like it's not optimal, and that's why I enjoy it.
Yeah, the shop music is good to distract you from the fact that the interface is really bad.
It's
so bad.
It's so funny that with both the item shops and the weapon shops, you like select whether you want to buy 1, 4, or 10.
Yep.
Yes.
It's such an interesting choice. I guess if you're going to get, because you're going to have 4 party members, I guess if you're going to get the same equipment for everyone, then
Yeah. No idea.
I don't know. It's so
bad.
weird.
I like this
rules.
game.
This game absolutely rules.
Yeah, I have been I didn't mention on how was my week because I was distracted by the lower back pain. But I've picked up work on my Wild Arms 2 ROM hack that I'm working on. And so this week has just been filled with the crossbar battle system for me. And it's good. It's great. No notes. I love it. It is so efficient with its space, and I wish more people used it so it became the standard. Though nowadays, where everyone is copying Persona 5, that one's also really good. But I love this. It's so much fun.
It's very fun. I enjoy like the weird. I do not intuit exactly how the timing of these fights work, and exactly like what it like, because it definitely seems like some moves are faster or take longer to do than others, but how exactly that translates into whose turn it is when, and after you do their move, how long it takes them to actually perform the thing you told them to. But like, I don't need to know those things. This is fun.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
Want to know something crazy about the Lufia series?
Yeah, go ahead.
Tell me.
So after Lufia 2, Rise of the Sinistrals, there were 2 more main games in the series. Later there was Curse of the Sinistrals, which was a reimagining of Lufia 2. But 2 more main games in the series. There was Lufia, The Legend Returns for Game Boy Color. That came out September 7th, 2001. Then Lufia, The Ruins of Lore for Game Boy Advance, which came out March 8th, 2002.
That is a fast turnaround.
Yeah, seriously.
Ruins of Lore was not developed by Neverland, the developers of the others, but still, it's crazy to release 2 games in the series like that
6
close to each other.
I can't think of how that could possibly go wrong. Should we also talk about Pokemon some more?
Oh dear. I mean, I'm pretty sure, if I recall correctly, Legends was released like in January, and Scarlet Violet was released, I think, at the beginning of December, but still, it was the same calendar year.
It's the same calendar year, and that's too close.
That's not good. And yeah. But Ruins of Lore was developed by Atelier Double, which is not a developer I have ever heard of.
Yeah, no idea. So when I first heard, like, beyond the fact of I knew it existed, about the Lufia series, it was from a podcast host, Matt Jorgensen, who loves the Lufia series and has only played Lufia: The Ruins of Lore. So when I started playing Lufia 2 for the JRPG canon back in the day, I was like, oh, wow, this is great. And I was like bringing it up to Matt, and he's like, yeah, I don't understand any of that. I play the Game Boy Advance one.
Apparently Atelier Double did work on Boku no Natsuyasumi 2, so that's interesting.
Nice.
And Boku no Natsuyasumi 1.
I love Atelier Double.
Apparently they're cool.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I don't think most people like Lufia and the Ruins of Lore.
Yeah, I don't. I've never heard anyone else mention it, much less it be the reason that it's the person's favorite series. But them's the breaks. Matt is
the breaks.
Matt is special, and that's why we have him on the podcast.
Yeah.
But that will do it for the week. If you like what you heard today, you can head on over to www.rpgbook.club, where you can donate to help support us. If you do, you will get some extra benefits. At $1 a month, the Gadabout tier gets access to our bonus feed, where we have after shows for every episode, as well as bonus seasons of the show that are backer only, like the aforementioned JRPG canon, of which we will finally have new episodes over a calendar year since the last one. And at $5 a month, the Warrior tier gets the above, but I also read the names at the end of every episode, a little bit like this. Shouts to Frost Terror, Dragon Slayer 19, Kildranas, Freddy Rodriguez, AA Ron 524, and JFO Prime. And then at $20 a month, the Luminary tier gets all of the above, plus a one-sentence shout-out to whatever it is they are passionate about. Shoutouts to El Tantavi, who wants you to check out Aftermath.site, a worker-owned, reader-supported news site covering video games, the internet, and the cultures that surround them. Shoutouts to Vimke, who says, she climbed up the wire-meshed frames of the floodlights and checked them too, blinded by the glare, feeling blindly behind the metal housing, grimly comforted by what she didn't find. And then It's Clear Time says, for you TTRPG nerds, check out Fabula Ultima. I'm not affiliated with the game, I just think it's neat. For RPG Book Club, I've been Sam.
I'm Bernard.
And I'm Trish.
Toodaloo, folks.
Bye-bye.